Liberia. The judge, the court did not say there was no evidence. The evidence did not reach the courtroom. Nobody went to court to discuss the evidence in terms of witnesses. So the judge or whatever did not get to hear the witnesses speak in court. Because this 1988 UK law set two conditions for the crime to be considered war crime. The court did not say there was inquiry. It said, the court says, one of the conditions that could lead or that should lead to the crimes she is accused of being termed war crimes was not met. Meaning, the MPFL had military control over Nima County between January and June 1990, clear. The judge, the court was not convinced that in addition to military control, the MPFL had in place civil authority. So you see where the case stopped. No witness went to the United Kingdom to testify in any court. Never. So these were technical issues upon which the case was based and judged by the court. And, well, I'm not the one to judge because there is another, our work, every person, the accused person is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We're not saying someone is guilty, but when you want to provide misinformation regarding the situation as they obtain, then of course we will be under a professional and ethical obligation to make the corrections for you. And I hope the media will understand that. Nothing about evidence. Case evidence, zero. UK law says before it could be categorized as a war crime. And the court, the judge also did say in this one that there was prima facie. But it didn't, the case did not cross the conditions set for the alleged crimes to be considered war crimes. So that's the issue. I have respect for every person, irrespective of profession, ethnicity, nationality, but I also do think that it is about, I have come to believe that it is about time the Liberian people stood up to their elected officials and demand justice. We have, as a nation, have placed the mantle of justice on the back burner. And this is why we continue to experience many of the problems we are experiencing today as a nation. I know you will want to ask questions, but I also wanted you to understand, if you want reference, the UK law under which she was charged is Section 124 of the 1988 UK Criminal Justice Law. So you can make that reference, you can research that and see that was the minimum threshold it needed to cross. But I'd like to say this to everybody. We will make sure that if the Liberian government, any Liberian, but is unwilling or is unable to do it, we will continue to help through universal jurisdiction. We will continue to investigate. We will continue to work with jurisdictional authorities in the United States, in Western Europe, Africa, all over the place, to make sure that people are held accountable. This is the responsibility of the Liberian government. Just do something, do it. We don't have to be in this position, but we're in this position because the Liberian legislature It's not even given a face. Thanks to Honorable Swamp Dennis, female, young, courageous, just led the fight in the legislature. And now we reached a stage, the legislative agendas are drawn by who? Who's office? The other people make submissions, but I think ultimately the speaker largely will make the decision. Mr. Balfour Chamber, this is a challenge to you. Please put this on the floor. And let's see whether the Liberian legislature will support or oppose it. And anybody who opposes this, remember that the blood of about 250,000 Liberians will be on your hands. And lastly, of course, I have to say this, the Liberian government has also taken some steps in a direction because they've been able to allow jurisdictional authorities from other countries since 2018, since 2018-19 to come to Liberia to investigate some of these crimes, because in some other countries, for them to fully investigate, their law will require that it should come to the country where the crime is committed to investigate. So you see, they don't just rely on us. So in this case, Scotland Yard did a thoroughly independent investigation, an investigation independent of us. There are witnesses associated with the case that we don't even know. So I have to say that. So I'll stop there and see. You have questions, but quickly, I just been reminded of something. Well, anyway, no problem. I'll take questions if you have.
Yeah. So,
yes.
Question. There's a protocol regarding question. So this is how we do it. We take five instead of 2, 5. So the first 5, the first thing you do, you put your hand on, you recognize the institution, and then you ask the question.
Yeah, Goslar Nasbani, report for Power Television. I read a piece of information, the Human Rights Organization alleged that since the arrival of activist Reeves Taylor, you have been receiving threats. I don't know how true is it. And B to the question, if yes, can you identify some of the names so we can aid police investigation?
Yes.
Chris. Okay. My name is Christopher here, and I go to school too. About the deliberation did talk about Liberians invading our national government. They show that the issue of war crimes courts being established in Liberia. But there's this statement always in the international government that establishing the court is not a problem, but the sticker issue is there's no finance. So assume that the government will agree. Would there be any international support to buttress the government effort?
Okay, next. Yes, sir.
Mr. Bility, my name is Ronald Josh, and I write for Smart News Liberia Online, and it's also the Liberia contact person for the Moroccan athlete aujourd'hui Le Maroc. My question is, the last time Madame Reeves Taylor appeared on the OK afternoon conversation, and she said that the case was dismissed based on lack of evidence, and you called and said that you had evidence. With the way the case has been dismissed, what are you going to do with those evidences that you have in your possession?
Yes, my name is Gerald Boyden. I write for Front Page African newspaper. You talk about the case being dismissed because the law in the UK does not allow such trial. What do you intend to do next? What does it mean for your movement? And secondly, the document at the legislature, how do you intend to enforce that it is placed on the agenda of the House of Representatives so that it can be decided upon?
Okay, now we'll give Mr. Bility the second chance to respond to the question.
Yeah, first of all, the threats, yes, that's true. It remains ongoing investigation because some of these complaints go to courts in jurisdictions outside of Liberia. So yes, I have. I'm not the only person. Some of our witnesses and victims, survivors, have received threats to the extent that we have had to relocate some of them, move them completely from where they were to a completely new environment, completely different areas. Now, regarding we document these things. The threats have come from individuals who have said that they were supporters, friends, former associates during the war of the Rift Terror. So we have no reason. We have no reason to tell tales on her, as other people told tales regarding the dismissal of the case. We don't have any merit in that. We just want to have the opportunity to do our jobs. So, to be frank with you, I cannot call. First of all, those who call on the phone, they're not going to call their name. And they call on, what do you call it? Private. And this is what I've said regarding that. Nobody should think for 1 second that they can come from someplace and flash their badge to make us nervous. We're not going to get nervous at all. Because our security is the people of Liberia. I hope I've addressed that. Concerning the money, come on, Liberian government. If you said that, then you want to mislead or fool your own people. No. First of all, look at the ICTR, the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, was saying that Rwandese government provided the funding. The court was based in Arusha, Tanzania. Look at the ICTY, International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia. The Lebanon Tribunal, the special court for Sierra Leone, right here in Liberia, was saying their governments, the national government were the ones who supported it. That's an excuse. And that excuse is not going to cut it. Remember in 2018 in March, the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations came to Liberia, Dr. Amina Mohammed, and called on the Liberian government to set up a mechanism to address these wartime, war-related crimes. In effect, create war crimes court. That's why the UN Deputy Secretary General, Dr. Amina Mohammed, said. So if they're telling you that, just do your job. And again, prior to that, there was a U.S. congressional, was there a resolution passed? Was there a resolution or something? I don't remember. But called on the Liberian government to create a war crimes court. So do your part of the job. Do not anticipate for other people to say, well, there's not going to be money. No. You have not built the foundation of the house, and you want to accuse this carpenter for not roofing that house. The accusation cannot do the foundation. Just pass it. It doesn't mean that when you pass it today, it probably will take about 2 years, for 2 or more years, for the first accused person to be brought to court. Because every piece of evidence you've got would have to be re-investigated to meet minimum international standard. It's not going to go as it is. It has to be reinvestigated, you know. Now, somebody asked, what do we do with the evidence? I'm constrained to say, I have to say, the case was dismissed from a UK court, from the United Kingdom court. But there are You know what? Some people will want to press me to answer directly. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. There are always possibilities. I can say that much. We preserve our evidence. There will always be other evidence. We're not, and we still remain in touch with the witnesses. And to help provide some form of protection for them as long as they feel threatened. Is there any question I can answer?
Yeah. My question was, what is the next move? Like case is now happening dismissed. And how do you intend to engage the legislature to act on the resolution adopting the war crime code?
We've been lobbying with the legislature in the past. Coronavirus, big enemy. The Liberian people and the world at large halted everything. That's what I said. I thank all of the lawmakers in the House of Representatives who have supported the work, who have worked hard. I thank the Liberian Bar Association and its president, Councilor Tiawan Ganglo. They've done tremendously well. We organized a workshop here Tuesday, workshop in Liberia, where we brought in criminal justice professor from the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom to help in assisting to put stuff in order. We've done that. So we will continue. There's not much we can do for now, but we will continue to bring some pressure to bear on the House of Representatives, through different peaceful means. But I think the House, I think the Speaker needs to stand up. He needs to do something. The evidence? What do we do next? I said that earlier. There will always be opportunities and possibilities. So it's not that we're gonna trash the evidence. We have them. We'll store them. We will keep them. We believe they're still useful. I know I was once a practicing journalist, so the question you want me to answer, I'm not gonna answer. The way you want me to answer, I'm not gonna answer it. But I can tell you clearly that we still do believe in our evidence.
Okay, we move to the next set of questions. And we start from this end.
I'm Henry Bispo, and I write for the Catholic. Your organization, the Global Justice, is saying after the war that took away 2,000 persons must be investigated and punished, and they should go immediately. Now, another group or some other group are saying, if such is being done, your cause, it would be like digging old wounds. Now, how can you reconcile that? When people are preaching peace, you call them for war.
Okay. Matthias?
Yeah. Thank you. My name is Matthias. I've been there, work with the Atlantic Broadcasting Corporation. Weeks after, a week or two after Madam Ekne still had a press conference, we came up with a press statement, a joint press statement alleging that the lives of some human rights advocates and witnesses have been threatened. But in the press conference held by Madam Taylor, she made some allegation against you, levied some allegation against you, that this thing, particularly this thing, must stop. Hassan Bility has been in a constant habit of incriminating people. We want to know, Mr. Bility, whether there's been at any point in time where somebody raised a concern, apart from Madam Ekne Stiller, that your investigation conducted about their involvement into war, they raised concern that they were forced, and so whether there has been some kind of hit back at you based on your investigation that after Madam Ekne Stiller made the allegation, now you are now, alleging that there are problems with your life and your other witnesses. How safe are you in this environment? Do you have protection from government or so? The last question is, We want to know how long you've been in this advocacy, for the prosecution of those that participated in the war in Liberia, and when did you see it expedient to involve the legislature in ensuring that the War Crimes Court is established so that people can be prosecuted? Can you say you've made some progress?
I prefer to answer those two questions first. Then we'll still have time. My former colleague, Desmond, we're not pushing war. Democracy, the foundation of every democracy must be based on justice. So I do understand. These are international crimes. Nobody can say, let's assume for a second, Liberia says, we forget it. All right, bygones be bygones. And I kill people. I violated IHL, that's international humanitarian law, during armed conflict. If I travel to a particular country, they can arrest me and prosecute me. Liberia can do nothing. That's what I said earlier. We either do it or they'll do it for us. All right. We're not opening old wounds. The Nazis, there's a major event that shook how the world will know for the next 75 years. That event occurred between 1939 and 1945.